She thought she was coming home to her husband. Instead, 6 months pregnant Natalie Morgan walked straight into a planned execution. The acid was purchased weeks earlier. The life insurance policy was already in place, and the man waiting in the dark had researched exactly how much prison time he might serve. But Natalie did not die. She survived long enough to expose a betrayal far darker than anyone imagined, and a secret about her identity that changes everything.
The liquid splashed her face a moment before she heard the scream. That October evening, Natalie Morgan believed she was coming home to her loving husband. Instead, she was walking into her own execution. She was a third-grade teacher, 6 months pregnant, and a woman who truly believed in second chances. What she could not know was that her husband had planned this for 3 long weeks. He had purchased the acid, researched how much time he would serve, and took out a life insurance policy. It was for $500,000 if she died. But Natalie did not die, and the plastic surgeon who was about to rebuild her face would soon find something that should not be possible. A birthmark behind her ear, shaped just like a crescent moon. It was the exact same birthmark his own daughter had. The daughter who vanished 26 years ago. This is a story of survival identity. It is about a woman who lost everything, only to find something she never knew she was missing. Her face, her past, her real father. Please stay with me, because this story will break your heart and then piece it back together. The burning liquid hit her skin before any sound could reach her ears. Natalie Morgan was just reaching for the light switch when her entire world was set on fire. One moment, she was coming home from a long night of parent-teacher conferences, her hand resting on her 6-month pregnant belly. In the next moment, all she knew was pain. It was the kind of pain that wipes away your thoughts, your name, and everything else but the deep need to stay alive. She tried to scream, but the noise caught in her throat as the burning grew worse. Her face felt like it was melting away from the bone. She collapsed to her knees, her hands flying up to her face before stopping short. A deep animal instinct warned her not to touch the burn. Blake. The name came out as a strangled gasp. Blake, what have you done? Her husband was standing in the dark kitchen, a bottle hanging loosely from his hand. The streetlight outside cast a dim glow on his face. He looked shocked, as if he did not expect this to happen, like he had meant to throw water, but fire came out instead. You ruined everything, he said, voice completely flat and empty. You just had to start asking questions. You had to look at the bank accounts. You could not let it go. Natalie tried to get up, but her legs refused to work. The searing pain was spreading over her cheeks, her forehead and her nose. She could smell chemicals, and beneath that, something far worse, her own flesh. Then, her baby kicked hard. That single kick brought her back to reality. She was not just Natalie anymore, she was a mother. And mothers never ever give up. She began to crawl toward the same door she had just walked through. It was only 5 feet away, but it felt like 5 miles. Each tiny movement sent new waves of agony through her. Blake just stood there behind her, completely still. He watched her struggle on the floor. He made no move to help her. He made no move to stop her. He only watched. Blake, she gasped out. The hospital, please. He let the bottle drop from his hand, and it shattered on the tile floor. Then he turned and walked to the back door. She heard it open, then shut. She heard his car start in the driveway. He was leaving her to die. Natalie finally reached the front door and used the frame to pull herself up. Her sight was becoming blurry. She did not know if it was from tears or from the acid. She struggled with the doorknob and then stumbled out onto the porch. When the cool October air hit her face, she let out a scream. The sound that came from her was not human. It was the sound of pure pain. It was the kind of scream that wakes up the neighbors and tells them something is terribly wrong. Mrs. Davidson from next door came out onto her porch wearing a bathrobe. The older woman saw Natalie, and her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my goodness, Natalie. Mrs. Davidson was already dialing 911 as she hurried across the lawn. She was a retired nurse who had seen many terrible things, but the color draining from her face told Natalie just how horrible she must have looked. Do not touch your face, honey, Mrs. Davidson said. Her voice was shaking, but she sounded like a professional. Keep your hands down. Help is on the way. Natalie's legs finally gave out completely. She collapsed onto her porch steps and one hand went to her stomach. The baby kicked again, 1, 2, 3 times. Still alive, still there, still fighting. "My baby," Natalie whispered. "Please, my baby." Mrs. Davidson said, "The baby is going to be fine," with more confidence than her eyes were showing. Now she was talking into her phone. "I need an ambulance at 1234 Maple Street. It is a chemical burn, a possible acid attack. The victim is conscious and 6 months pregnant." "Yes, pregnant. We need the baby doctor standing by. Please hurry." Natalie could hear sirens getting closer. Her face felt like it was still on fire long after the liquid had stopped spreading. Her whole body was shaking uncontrollably. She pictured Blake's face, the surprise in his eyes. It was like he had not planned for this part, like he had just acted without thinking. No, that was not right. The bottle had been waiting for her. He had been waiting in the dark. This was not a sudden act. It was planned. Her husband had tried to murder her. The ambulance arrived, its lights flashing red and blue all over the neighborhood. 2 paramedics jumped out. Their faces became professionally blank the moment they saw her.
"Ma'am, my name is Tyler, and this is my partner, Jess. We are going to take good care of you. Can you tell me your name?" "Natalie. Natalie Morgan."
Her own voice sounded thick and strange. "I am 6 months pregnant. Is my baby going to be okay?" The female paramedic, Jess, was already putting a blood pressure cuff on Natalie's arm. "Let us find out. Just lie back for me, if you can." They gently moved her onto a stretcher. Jess lifted Natalie's shirt just enough to place a small device on her belly. The sound of a tiny racing heartbeat filled the night air. Thump, 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 thump. It was fast, but it was steady. "The baby's heartbeat is strong," Jess said. 150 beats per. "That is perfect." Natalie began to cry. The tears stung her wounds, but she could not hold them back. "Thank God, thank God." Tyler was looking closely at her face without touching it.
"Ma'am, can you tell me what happened to you?" "My husband," the words felt like swallowing broken glass. "He threw acid on my face." The 2 paramedics shared a look. Tyler's jaw became tight.
Jess's hands were very gentle as she started an intravenous line in Natalie's arm. "Where is your husband now?" Tyler asked. "He left. He just drove away." "Okay, we have got you now. We are taking you to Sacred Heart Hospital. They have the best burn unit in the state and a level 1 trauma center for both you and your baby." They loaded her into the ambulance. Mrs. Davidson climbed in right after them. "I am going with her," the older woman said, and her tone left no room for argument. She should not have to be alone right now. As the ambulance drove away, Natalie kept one hand on her belly. The baby was kicking steadily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She counted every single kick as if it were a prayer. Every kick meant her daughter was still fighting, still alive, still with her. If her baby could fight this hard, then so could she. The ride to the hospital was 12 minutes long. Natalie knew this because she counted every single second between the waves of pain. The paramedics kept talking to her to keep her awake and in the present moment. "What do you do for a living, Natalie?" Jess asked. "I teach 3rd grade at Washington Elementary. That is wonderful." "What is your favorite part about being a teacher?" Natalie understood what was doing. She was keeping her mind busy to stop her from going into shock. She decided to play along. "It is the moment when something finally clicks," she said. "When a child who has been struggling finally understands, their whole face just lights up. I bet you are a great teacher. I try to be." The ambulance arrived at the hospital's emergency entrance. The doors swung open and Natalie was rushed into a trauma room that was already prepared for her. A team of nurses surrounded her. Doctors came in. Everyone moved with a calm and practiced skill. A tall man in scrubs stepped forward. He had silver hair and kind eyes that looked out from behind wire-rimmed glasses. He looked at Natalie's face with a doctor's focus, but somehow it felt gentle. "Hello, Natalie. I am Dr. James C. Langsclair. I am a plastic surgeon who specializes in reconstructing faces after a trauma. I will be in charge of your care tonight. Can you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how much pain you are in?" 15. Natalie whispered. "Okay, we are going to give you something for that pain immediately. But first, I need to look at the burns and check that the baby is stable. Is that all right with you?" Natalie could only nod. Dr. Sinclair leaned in, studying her face from different angles. His expression stayed calm, but she saw a flicker of something in his eyes. It was concern. It might have even been anger at the person who did this. The acid has caused second and third degree burns to about 60% of your face, he said softly. But your eyes look to be unharmed, and your airway is clear. These are both very good signs. My baby? Natalie asked again. An obstetrician came to her other side. I am Dr. Patricia Hayes. Let us check on your little one. Dr. Hayes moved a small wand over her belly. The baby appeared on a screen, moving around with a strong heartbeat. Your daughter looks absolutely perfect, Dr. Hayes said. She shows no signs of any distress. Daughter. Natalie felt a tightness in her chest.
You did not know? No, I wanted it to be a surprise.
Natalie started to cry again. I wanted to wait. Mrs. Davidson gently squeezed her hand. You are having a baby girl, sweetheart, and she is going to be perfectly fine. Dr. Sinclair came back into her view. Natalie, I need to take you to surgery now. We will remove the damaged tissue and start the process of rebuilding. This will be the first of many surgeries. Do you understand? Will I ever look like myself again? The question sounded small, like a child's. Dr. Sinclair paused for a moment. Then he said something that Natalie would carry with her for the rest of her life. You will look like someone who survived something terrible, he said, and that person is beautiful in ways that have nothing to do with how you look. But yes, we will rebuild your face. I give you my word. Natalie nodded. Okay, do it. As they rushed her to surgery, loud voices echoed in the corridor. A woman's voice, thick with fear, called out, Where is she? Where is Natalie? Rebecca Torres appeared, her dark hair a mess and her eyes wild with panic. The moment Natalie's best friend from college saw her, she froze. Oh my goodness. Rebecca's face fell apart. Oh, Nat, oh no. Natalie whispered. He left. Blake left me. I know. The police found his car abandoned 2 blocks away. Rebecca was crying now, walking quickly beside the gurney. They are searching for him everywhere. Good, Natalie managed to say. The pain medicine was finally kicking in. Her words felt heavy and slow. I hope they catch him. I hope he spends forever in jail. Rebecca answered with force. He will. I swear to you, he will. As they went through the surgical doors, Natalie saw her reflection in a steel cabinet. Her face was swollen horribly, red and blistered. A monster. She quickly looked away. That was not her face. It could not be. But she knew, deep inside, that this was her now. This is what Blake had turned her into. Her baby kicked 7 sharp times in a row. Natalie shut her eyes as they moved her to the operating table. She concentrated on the kicks, that tiny heartbeat, and the daughter she never knew she had until 5 minutes ago. My daughter, she mouthed as the medicine pulled her under. I am still here. Mama is still here. Dr. Sinclair's face hovered above her, masked and focused. Count backward from 10 for me, Natalie. 10, 9, 8. My baby. 7, 6, Blake. 5, 4. Still alive. 3, 2. Then only darkness. But something Dr. Sinclair was about to discover would alter both of their lives completely. Because while he studied the burns under the bright operating room lights, he saw something unusual. Behind Natalie's right ear, a spot the acid had not touched, was a tiny birthmark. It was shaped just like a crescent moon. For a heartbeat, his hand stopped moving, and he held his breath. He had seen that mark once before. It was on a 3-year-old girl who vanished 26 years ago. It was on his own daughter. The operation lasted 8 hours. Dr. James Sinclair worked with precision, cutting away dead tissue, saving what he could, and mapping out the future reconstruction. His team flowed around him in a silent, practiced ballet. Each person knew their job and did it flawlessly. But James could not stop thinking about that birthmark. It had to be impossible. A simple incident. So many people have birthmarks shaped like a crescent moon. The body just makes them. This woman could not be his Carolyn. His daughter was gone for 26 years. The search had gone cold a long time ago. He had looked all over, paid for investigators, and followed every single tip. Nothing. Emma had run off with Caroline during a severe psychotic break. Her postpartum illness had been missed for far too long. By the time James understood how unwell his wife was, she had disappeared with their little girl. 3 months later, Emma was killed in a car wreck in rural Montana. But Caroline was not in the car. The police checked everywhere they could think of. Foster homes, hospitals, and morgues. A little 3-year-old girl had vanished without a trace. James had left Caroline's bedroom untouched. Her toys, her clothes, her small bed with its pink blanket, all waiting for a return that never came. He dedicated his career to helping burn survivors after that. He reasoned that if he could not rescue his own child, he could at least rescue someone else's. Dr. Sinclair, his nurse Martha said, looking at him. Do we proceed with the grafts or do we wait? James snapped back to the present. We will stabilize her tonight. Grafts will be stage 2. He completed the surgery, making sure every wound was perfectly clean and every stitch was precise. This woman had endured a nightmare. The very least he could offer was the absolute best medical care. After the surgery, he located Rebecca on the waiting area. She leaped to her feet when she saw him, a coffee cup in her hands. How is she? She asked. The operation was a success, James told her. We cleaned the damaged tissue and prepared her for reconstruction. She will require more surgeries in the coming months, but she is going to be all right, at least physically. James paused. The emotional healing will take much longer. Rebecca's face crumpled once more. I should have known. I should have noticed something. What signs? James asked. Blake started acting differently about 8 months ago. He became secretive and angry when Nat asked him things. I told her it was a red flag, but she always defended him. Rebecca's voice cracked. God, I wish I had insisted. This is not on you, James said with a firm voice. The only one to blame for this is the man who did this to her. Have the police found him? I am not sure, but they are here. They want to get Natalie's story as soon as she wakes up. Detective Marcus Sullivan came around the corner as if on cue. He was a man with broad shoulders in his mid-40s, and his face showed he had seen a lot, yet it remained kind. Dr. Sinclair, he said, may I have a word with you about the patient? Of course. They went into a private room. Detective Sullivan took out a notepad. What can you tell me about her condition? 2nd and 3rd degree chemical burns on about 60% of her face. Her eyes are fine, and her airway is clear. No other visible injuries. The fetus is healthy with no signs of distress. Fetus. She is 6 months pregnant. Detective's jaw grew tight. He heard a pregnant woman. Yes. The detective scribbled a note, pressing down harder than he needed to. We located Blake Warren's car 2 blocks from the house. The keys were still in CI's cup. The driver's side door was open. He ran away. Do you know where he might have gone? Not yet, but we did find his laptop inside the car. It seems he forgot it when he hurried to get away. Detective Sullivan's face became very serious. Would you like to know what we discovered on that laptop? James gave a nod. Gambling sites. Lots of them. And chat messages with loan sharks. He was in debt for $60,000. James felt a sick feeling in his stomach. Did Natalie know? Their joint savings account was drained 3 weeks ago. Every last cent. And he mortgaged their house again behind her back, forging her name on the documents. That is fraud. That is the smallest of his worries. We also discovered text messages. The detective showed him his phone and read from a conversation with a woman named Vanessa Cole. She is a co-worker of Blake's. The text started 8 months ago. They were having an affair for 8 months. The entire time Natalie has been pregnant. Does Natalie know about this? James asked. We will need to inform her when she is awake. James thought of the woman on his operating table. Scarred, pregnant, broke, and now about to find out her husband was cheating on her the whole time.
How much can one person endure?
He wondered aloud. I want to be in the room when you tell her, he said. He paused for a moment. Then he continued, because no one should have to get news like that by themselves. Detective Sullivan looked at him for a second, then agreed. Okay, doctor, I will notify you when she is awake. James went to check on Natalie in the recovery unit. She was still under sedation, her breathing even through an oxygen mask. Her face was mostly covered in bandages. Only her eyes and mouth could be seen. He glanced at her information. Age 29, born June 1996. No family was listed. Her emergency contact was Rebecca Torres, a friend. No parents, no siblings, nobody, just like Caroline would be. 29 years old, and all alone. James shook his head, telling himself he was being illogical. The birthmark was meaningless. It was just wishful thinking. His grief was playing tricks on him after so many years. But as he walked out of the recovery area, he took out his phone and opened a picture he kept in a secret folder. It was Carolyn at age 3, smiling and joyful, not knowing her life was about to be destroyed. He zoomed in closer on the image. Behind her right ear, barely catching the sunlight, was a tiny crescent moon-shaped birthmark. It was identical to Natalie's. James put the photo away and walked to his office. He would see Natalie again in a few hours. He just needed a moment to think, to breathe, and to stop himself from going crazy. But inside his file cabinet, deep under piles of old papers, was Carolyn's missing person file. He found himself taking it out and reading it for what felt like the 1000th time. This Caroline Marie Sinclair went missing June 15, 1999, age 3, brown hair, hazel eyes, a crescent moon birthmark behind the right ear. Last seen with her mother, Emma Sinclair. Mother was later found dead in a car crash. The child was never found, declared dead after 5 years. The case was closed. But James Miss had never been able to close it in his own heart. He spent 15 years looking for her before he finally had to accept that she was just gone. Not gone forever, but lost somewhere in the system. A nameless girl who grew up in foster care, never learning her real name. He checked Natalie's admission form one more time. Foster care history. No recollection of her birth parents. She left the system at 18. No, he thought, it is not possible. Countless girls fit that profile. The birthmark was just a strange coincidence. He was inventing a story that was not there. But what if it was true? James put the file back and went to the recovery room. Natalie was beginning to wake up. Her eyes opened slowly, hazy and lost. "Natalie," he said in a soft voice. "My name is Dr. Sinclair. You are in the hospital. You have had an operation. Can you recall what happened?" Her eyes eventually focused on his face. At first, they were empty, but then the memory rushed back, and her entire body stiffened. "Blake," she whispered, "he's used acid." "I know, but you are safe now. The surgery was successful. And my baby, your daughter is completely fine." Tears slid from her eyes. "A daughter. I have a daughter." "You do?" Natalie tried to touch her face, but James gently stopped her hand. "Not yet. The wounds need time." "How bad is it?" James hesitated for a moment. He knew she needed the truth. There is a lot of damage, but it is fixable. "We will do this step by step. Today we made you stable. We begin rebuilding next week. Will I ever look like myself again?" It was a simple question with a very hard answer. "You will always be you," James told her. "Your face may look different, but you are not just your face." Natalie shut her eyes. "That is easy for you to say. You still have yours." "A fair point." Rebecca showed up at the door. "Nat, oh thank goodness you are awake." "Rebecca." Natalie's voice cracked. "Have they found him?" "Not yet, but we will." Detective Sullivan came in behind Rebecca. "Mrs. Warren, my name is Detective Marcus Sullivan. I have to ask you a few things, if you feel able." "Okay." The detective took a seat. "Can you tell me what happened?" Natalie talked slowly. Her voice was hoarse from the tube. She explained how she came home from meetings at school. She found Blake in the dark kitchen with a bottle in his hand. "He said I destroyed everything." She finished speaking. "He told me I should have just left it alone." "Left what alone?" "I have no idea. Last week I saw some charges on our credit card. They were 4 gambling sites. I confronted him about it. The part of her face she could move twisted in pain. Asking questions is what led to this." Detective Sullivan looked at James. "Mrs. Warren, we discovered Blake's laptop in his car. There are some things you should know." He then told her about the gambling losses, the new mortgage, and the savings he took. Natalie listened with a blank face. Then he revealed Vanessa and the affair that went on for 8 months. It was for her whole pregnancy. Natalie said nothing for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was strangely calm. "Did you say 8 months?" "Yes, I did. My entire pregnancy." "Yes, I understand." Natalie just looked up at the ceiling. "He found someone else while I was carrying his child. He took all our money while I was making plans for us. Then he tried to end my life because I discovered it. The evidence points to that." "Good. I want him locked up forever. We are trying our best to locate him." When the detective was gone, Rebecca sat down beside Natalie's bed. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I am just so very sorry. This is not your fault. I should have known." "Stop." Natalie's voice was strong, even with her injuries. "You did not do this. Blake did this. Only Blake." They were quiet for a few moments. Then Natalie asked the one question James feared. "Rebecca, be honest with me. How bad does my face look?" Rebecca's silence was the only answer she needed. "Is it that bad?" Natalie whispered. "You are going to be okay." Rebecca said, "Dr. Sinclair is the best doctor there is. Everyone knows it. He can fix this." But they both knew some damage is permanent. It can never be fully fixed. James gave them some privacy and returned to his office. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. He needed to go home and rest before returning. But he just sat at his desk, looking at two pictures next to each other. Caroline at age 3 and Natalie's photo from her arrival. The birthmarks were a perfect match. He knew what he had to do. He took out his phone and called the hospital's genetics lab. "This is Dr. Sinclair. I need a DNA test, a paternity test. Please rush it." The lab tech asked for the information. James provided it. "I will require a sample from the patient," the technician explained, "and can collect it in the morning. Just arrange for it." James ended the call and instantly doubted himself. What was he thinking? This was crazy. He was chasing a ghost, imagining a link that was not there. But he had to follow this feeling. He had to know the truth. If there wasn't a possibility Natalie was Caroline, he needed the answer, even if it shattered his heart again. A week passed and it was time to change Natalie's bandages. She had been terrified of this day. The nurses told her she was healing nicely. Dr. Sinclair said they could start rebuilding soon. Everyone sounded so hopeful, but it did not matter to her. Today, she was going to see her own face. Rebecca was next to her, holding her hand. Dr. Sinclair was close by, holding a mirror covered with a towel. "You prepared?" he asked. "Does it make a difference?" Natalie said back. "We can wait if you are not ready." "No, just do it now." Sinclair gently took off the bandages, one layer after another. Natalie felt the air on her skin for the first time in a week. It was a strange feeling. When the final bandage was gone, Rebecca gasped. That sound told Natalie everything she needed to know. "The mirror," Natalie demanded.
Give me the mirror, Dr. Sinclair.
He gave it to her. Natalie looked at her reflection. The person in the mirror was a stranger. It could not be her. This person's skin was swollen and bruised, pulled tight across her bones. There were red areas and white areas and parts where skin was gone. Her face was like a strange and unfamiliar map. She just stared. Then, she slowly reached out and touched her cheek. This was distant and numb. She could not feel some parts of her face. "I do not know who I am," she said. "That is to be expected," Dr. Sinclair said softly. "Your face has a long way to go. After you rebuild me, will I ever be me again?" The room was quiet. "I will be direct with you," Dr. Sinclair said. "You are going to look different, but we can reconstruct your features. We can give you a face that feels like your own. It will not be the same one, but it will be you." Natalie gave the mirror back. Her baby kicked. 1, 2, 3 times. "I am still here," she whispered, mostly to herself. "I am still here." "Yes, you are," Dr. Sinclair said. Then he asked the question that changed her entire life. "Natalie, I have something I need to ask you. Do you know anything about the family you were born into?" Natalie looked at him, surprised by the question. "No. I grew up in foster care. I have no records. Why do you ask?" Dr. Sinclair paused. He was looking at her right ear. "The birthmark behind your ear. It is very unique." Natalie's hand went to it without thinking. She had not thought about that mark in years. She had it for as long as she could remember. She hardly ever noticed it. Unique in what way? He paused again. Dr. Sinclair seemed to be searching for the right words. "I am about to ask you something that will sound very odd, but please, just listen to me first, all right? Would you consider taking a DNA test? To be specific, a paternity test." The room became completely still. Rebecca squeezed Natalie's hand harder. Natalie just stared at the doctor. "Why would I do that?" Dr. Sinclair took out his phone. He found a picture and showed it to her. It was a photo of a little girl, about 3 years old, with brown hair and a big, happy smile. She was in a yellow dress, holding a small teddy bear. Just behind her right ear, almost hidden by the light, was a tiny birthmark. It looked like a crescent moon. "That is my daughter," Dr. Sinclair said softly. "Her name was Caroline. She vanished 26 years ago. She would be about your age today." Natalie looked from the picture to the birthmark to the doctor. "You believe that I am your daughter?" "I believe it could be true. The mark, your age, the fact you were in foster care, that you have no early memories. It all lines up." "Lines up with what?" Dr. Sinclair sat down, looking worn out. "My former wife, Emma, she had postpartum psychosis after Caroline was born. We did not realize how bad it was. One day, she took Caroline and was just gone. We looked for them everywhere. 3 months after that, Emma was in a fatal car crash in Montana. Caroline was not with her. The police checked the foster system and hospitals, but found nothing." He stopped for a moment. They believed Emma left Caroline somewhere before the crash, perhaps with a stranger, or at a safe place like a fire station. A 3-year-old girl did enter foster care in Montana right around then. Her record said Jane Doe. Nobody ever made the connection to Caroline. Natalie felt the room start to spin. Montana, yes, he said. Is that important? My very first memory is of a foster home in Billings. I was probably 3 or 4 years old. I cannot remember a thing before that. Rebecca's hand began to shake. Oh, Nat. Oh my goodness, Nat. How can we find out for certain? Natalie asked. A DNA test. A paternity test. If you are Caroline, we will know without a doubt. Natalie looked at the picture one more time. At the girl who could be her. At the toy she did not recognize. At a smile that seemed like a stranger's. What if it is not me? Then I have been very foolish and I am sorry for causing you this stress. And what if it is me? Dr. Sinclair's voice cracked just a little. Then it means I have found my daughter after 26 years. Natalie returned the phone. Her head was racing. Her face was in pain. Her baby was moving. And now this news. Okay, she said. Let us do the test. Are you positive? Why not? Nothing about this week could be any weirder. Dr. Sinclair gave a small smile. It was the very first time she had ever seen him smile. I will set it up for this afternoon. Once he was gone, Rebecca looked at Natalie with huge eyes. What if this is real? She whispered. It would mean I had a father all this time and never knew it. A father who was searching for you. Or it could be a strange coincidence, and this is just false hope. Natalie shut her eyes. I cannot process this right now. I have enough problems already. But she could not get it out of her mind. That night, by herself in the hospital room, she looked at the ceiling. She tried to recall anything from before she was 4. She remembered pieces, a woman's song, the scent of lavender, a blue blanket, but nothing more. There was nothing solid she could hold on to. If she really was Caroline Sinclair, she had missed 26 years with her dad. 26 years of having a family, of knowing where she belonged. If she was not Caroline Sinclair, then she was just a foster kid with bad luck. Unlucky to be left by her family, and unlucky now. Her husband once tried to end her life. No matter what, her previous existence was over. She had to begin again, with or without her consent. The baby kicked with force. Natalie placed a hand on her stomach. Hey, little girl, your mother's world is a disaster right now, but I will make you a promise. Whatever comes our way, you are going to be cherished. So deeply cherished. The baby moved again, 7 times in a row. Natalie felt each kick, the only constant in a life she no longer recognized. After 3 days, Detective Sullivan back with an update. We have Blake Warren in custody, he said. Natalie sat up, suddenly alert. Where? In Pennsylvania. He was holed up in a deserted hunting cabin about 30 miles outside of Harrisburg. The Pennsylvania State Police arrested him this morning. Is he being brought back here? Yes, we are extraditing him on charges of attempted murder. The district attorney wants to try him here. Natalie felt a confusing wave of relief and anger. She was relieved he was captured. She was furious that he even tried to run. Did he give a statement? Detective Sullivan's face grew serious. He did, but I do not think you will like it. I want to hear it. He says you were controlling and made his life a nightmare, and that he finally broke. Natalie let out a bitter laugh. Of course, that is what he would say. There is something else. Blake's girlfriend, Vanessa Cole, got in touch with us. She is willing to give a statement. For what reason? She claims she was unaware of the assault. She says Blake lied to her about absolutely everything. She is offering to cooperate with our case. She was with my husband while I carried his child, and now she wants forgiveness. She wants to help send him to prison. Promha. Natalie thought about it for a moment. She replied, all right, let her speak. The more proof we have, the better. The detective nodded in agreement. We also discovered something very troubling on Blake's laptop. He ordered the acid 3 weeks before the incident. He also searched for prison time for acid attack repeatedly. This was not a crime of passion. It was premeditated. 3 weeks. He used those 3 weeks to plan how to disfigure her. Natalie's hand drifted to her face, feeling the bandages. He wanted to ruin me, yes. He wanted you gone so he could be with her. That is how it appears. Natalie was silent for a very long time. Finally, she asked, Detective Sullivan, do you have any daughters? I have 3 of them. Then you know why I have to follow this to the end. Why he must spend the rest of his days in jail. I understand that perfectly. When he was gone, Grace Holloway, a hospital social worker, came in carrying a pile of documents. Natalie, we have to talk about our financial situation. I do not have one. Blake wiped me out. I am aware, but it gets worse. Grace looked at her with pity. Blake secured a second mortgage against your home. He faked your signature. The bank is now foreclosing. Natalie felt as if all the air had been punched out of her. What? You are about to lose the house. I am so sorry. But where will I live? That is what I am here to help you solve. We have programs for survivors of domestic abuse, like temporary housing and monetary aid. I am a teacher. I have a job. Your wages are being taken to pay off debts Blake made using your name. He ran up credit cards. He took out loans. He took your identity right along with your money. Natalie looked at Grace, 6 months pregnant, scarred, broke, and soon to be homeless. I cannot do this, she whispered. There is no way I can get through this. Grace came and sat next to her. Yes, you can. It may not seem like it now, but you are much stronger than you know. How could you possibly say that? Because you are still alive. He attempted to kill you, but you made it to that door. You saved your baby. You survived. That requires an amazing amount of strength. The baby kicked. Natalie counted from 1 to 10. I do not feel very strong. Strength is not a feeling, it is a decision. And you are deciding to continue. That is all that matters. After Grace left with a plan for housing aid, Natalie was alone in the dim hospital room. The time was 2 in the morning. The baby was awake, moving non-stop. Sleep was impossible for Natalie. She began to arrange her nightstand, putting the water jug in the middle, placing the tissue box at a right angle, and wrapping her phone cord into a neat circle. If she could manage this one small area, perhaps the turmoil would not overwhelm her. It was not working, but she did not stop trying. Rebecca saw her the next day, the nightstand arranged in 6 new ways, Natalie just staring at it with weary eyes. Nat, did you get any sleep? Not a bit. Do you want to discuss it? I have lost everything, Beck. My looks, my home, my money, my marriage, all of it. You have not lost your baby. Not for now. But what sort of mother will I be? I cannot even glance at my own reflection without feeling sick. How will my own daughter ever be able to look at me? Rebecca took both of Natalie's hands in her own. You need to hear me. Your daughter will see a survivor, a warrior, a woman who would not let him win. That is who her mother is. Or she will just see a monster. No, do not say that. Rebecca's tone was sharp. Blake is responsible for this, not you. He is the monster. You were his victim, and you fought back and survived. Natalie desperately wanted to believe her. But in the middle of the night, by herself in the darkness, she could only picture that face in the mirror. Unfamiliar, destroyed, gone forever. 3 days later, Dr. Sinclair asked for a meeting in private. He came with a genetics expert and a hospital manager. It is standard procedure, he said, for cases like this one. Natalie understood what that implied. The results of the DNA test had arrived. Her hands began to tremble before he even touched the envelope. Dr. Sinclair took a seat opposite her. His own hands were also unsteady. Natalie, he began softly, the results are absolutely certain. A 99.99% match. A deep silence fell.
You are my daughter. You are Caroline.
The room seemed to tilt sideways. Natalie clutched the chair's armrests. Say that one more time. You are my daughter. I have found you. After 26 years, I have finally found you. Natalie gazed at him. At this man who was now her father. At this stranger who searched for her while she was moved through 6 foster homes. While she was turned out of the system at 18. While she worked her way through college, married Blake, and was nearly killed. I had a father this entire time.
Screw louder.
Where have you been? Dr. Sinclair winced and looked away. Your mother gave false names when she left. When we finally identified her body, the trail had disappeared. You were put into the system with a new name. You were a Jane Doe, then became a Morgan when the state took custody. I was never adopted by a family. I just aged out. I am aware of that, and I am so very sorry. The system let you down. I let you down. Yes, you did. The words felt heavy in the room. They were painful, and they were true. I looked for 15 years, Dr. Sinclair said, his voice strained. I hired private detectives, checked every record, followed every tip. I never gave up hope, but the leads all dried up. I started to believe you were gone. I was not gone. I was here, growing up by myself, always asking why no one wanted me. I wanted you. Oh, Caroline. I wanted you more than anything. Every day. Do not use that name. Natalie got to her feet. My name is Natalie. I have never met anyone named Caroline. She went to the window. Her baby kicked. She counted from 1 to 15. From behind, she could hear Dr. Sinclair rising from his chair. I know that you are angry, he said. You have every reason to be. But Natalie, you are my child, and your baby is my grandchild. That has to count for something. It must mean something. Natalie faced him again. My baby is going to need a grandfather, but I will need a long time to accept that I have a father. You can have all the time you need. I have been waiting for 26 years. I can wait a little more. Are you sure? Because you appeared at the lowest point in my life. I am scarred, pregnant, and scared, and now you tell me my whole life story is a fabrication. Your life is not a fabrication. You are still yourself. You are just also my daughter. Natalie laughed, but it sounded broken. I have no idea who I am. When I look at myself, I see a stranger. When I think about my past, it seems like a lie. Everything I thought was true has vanished, not everything. Your courage is real. The fact that you survived is real. Your baby is real. And that is supposed to make it all okay. No, but it is the truth. The two of them stood there, a father and a daughter, strangers bound by blood and by a terrible event. At last, Natalie spoke. I am going to need you to go now. Dr. Sinclair gave a slow nod. I will leave, but Natalie, I am not disappearing. Even if you never call me your father, even if you can never forgive me, I will be here. I am staying. After he was gone, Natalie completely fell apart. She sobbed until she was sick. She yelled into her pillow, and she stared at her ruined face in the mirror and loathed every part of her life. Through it all, the baby kicked, a constant, gentle reminder that someone was counting on her. At last, Natalie felt a calm settle over her. She touched her stomach. I am so sorry, my sweet girl. Your mama is a wreck. But I promise that I will pull myself together somehow. The baby responded with 7 more kicks. Natalie counted every single one and began to think about her future. Because even with everything gone, she still had this. Her daughter was her reason to continue the fight, and maybe, just maybe, she now had a father who had been looking for her all along. 2 weeks after learning the truth about her DNA, Natalie finally allowed Dr. Sinclair to come back to her room. He came cautiously, as if he were approaching a startled animal, which Natalie thought was probably fair. I appreciate you letting me see you, he began. I am not here for you. My child requires prenatal care, and you are the top doctor in this hospital. I will accept that. He studied her face, his touch both professional and careful. The injuries were mending nicely. There was no sign of infection. The swelling was reducing. In about another week, the reconstruction process could begin. You are healing faster than we anticipated, he told her. That is wonderful. Will I ever look like a person again? Natalie, I am sorry. That was not fair. She drew in a deep breath. I am trying to cope, but this all feels overwhelming right now. Dr. Sinclair took a seat. Would it be okay if I told you about your mother, the person she was, before sickness? Natalie wanted to say no, but a part of her was curious. A part of her had to know. Okay. Your mother, Emma, was an artist. She painted beautiful murals and always wanted to teach. But you, Caroline, you were her entire world. Every single night she would sing to you. She called them her lavender lullabies. She would smooth lavender lotion on your little arms and sing until you drifted off to sleep. Natalie suddenly froze. Lavender, yes. Why? I have this memory, just a piece of one, a woman's voice singing. The scent of lavender. I always thought it was something I imagined. You did not imagine it. That was Emma. That was your mom. Tears began to stream down Natalie's face without warning. What happened to her? Why did she run away with me? It was postpartum psychosis. It is a very serious mental condition that can happen after a woman gives birth. Emma began to suffer from delusions and paranoia. She truly believed that someone was trying to harm you and that I was involved in a plot against you. He had to stop for a moment, his voice thick with pain. I tried to get her help, but at that time, people did not understand how serious it could be. Then one morning, I woke up, and the two of you had vanished. She should note, explaining she was keeping you safe and would return when the danger passed, but she never came back. Yes, the official report called it a single-vehicle accident. There were no other causes found. She simply drove off the highway. Perhaps she fell asleep at the wheel, or maybe her illness has made her imagine something on the road. We will never have the answer. And I was not in the car with her. No, The police believe she left you someplace hours before the crash. Perhaps she gave you to a stranger she thought she could trust because of her condition. She might have left you at a church or a fire station. 3 days later, you were discovered wandering by yourself in a park. No, you were not able to tell anyone your name. Natalie tried to absorb all of this information. I cannot remember a single thing. Perhaps that is a blessing. You are spared from remembering the terrible moments, but it also means I do not remember the good moments. I have no memory of you or of her or what it felt like to be loved. Dr. Sinclair's voice cracked. You were loved so very much. Before she got sick, Emma and I were so happy. You meant everything to us. Until I did not. You always meant everything, even after you were missing, especially then. They were quiet for a long moment. Then Natalie asked, "Did you ever marry again?" "No, I was never able to. I compared every woman I met to your mother, Emma. Every time I saw a small child, I would wonder if it could be you." A sad smile touched his lips. "I kept your bedroom just as you left it. Your toys, your clothes, and your little bed with the pink blanket are all still waiting. That is heartbreaking. That is what it means to be a father." Just then, the baby kicked. Dr. Sinclair saw the movement. "May I?" he asked, motioning toward her stomach. For a moment, Natalie hesitated, but then she slowly nodded. He gently rested his hand on her belly. The baby moved against his palm, and his eyes welled up with tears. "Hello, little one," he whispered softly. "I am your grandfather, and I love you more than you know." As she watched him, Natalie felt a strange breaking sensation deep inside her chest. This man had searched for 26 years, filled with grief and hope. He had found her at the lowest point of her life, and yet he stayed by her side. "I have no idea how to do this," she admitted quietly. "I do not know what it means to have a father, and I do not know how to be a father to a daughter who is already a woman. So we can learn how to do it together. I am still so angry. You have every reason to feel that way, and I am afraid of everything. The trial with Blake becoming a mother, and I am afraid my own daughter will fear my face. Your daughter will recognize your voice. She will know your touch and feel your love. That is what is important." Natalie wanted to believe his words, but fear had settled deep in her bones, a constant and heavy weight. Later that night, she requested a mirror from a nurse. The nurse seemed unsure, but finally brought her one. Natalie stared at her own reflection. She truly looked for the first time. Her face remained swollen and bruised, but she could now make out its underlying form. The process of rebuilding her face would begin the following week. Dr. Sinclair would reconstruct her cheekbones, her nose, and her forehead. She was going to have a new face. It would not be the one she had before, and it would not be the one Blake had created. It would be something else entirely. She reached out and touched her image in the mirror. The glass felt cold beneath her fingers. "Hello," she whispered. "I do not know who you are yet, but I am trying to find out." It was a small step, but it was a beginning. The following morning, Detective Sullivan came with some surprising information. "Vanessa Cole is in the waiting room. She is asking to speak with you." Natalie immediately wanted to say no, but her curiosity was stronger. "Fine," she said. "Give her 5 minutes." Vanessa Cole was 28 years old with blonde hair, and she looked as if she had not slept for many days. Her eyes were puffy and red. She let out a sharp gasp when she saw Natalie's bandaged face. "Oh my goodness, yes," Natalie said, her voice empty of emotion. "This is what your boyfriend did." "He is not my boyfriend," Vanessa insisted. "He was never truly my boyfriend." Vanessa sank into a chair. "I really believed he was in love with me. I thought his wife was causing all the trouble. He told me you were controlling and emotionally unstable. He said you threatened to harm yourself if he ever left you. That is a complete lie. I realize that now. But he was very persuasive. He even showed me text messages that he said were from you. He called you insane. He made it seem like I was rescuing him." Natalie could feel a hot anger rising inside her. "And you fell for it." "Yes," Vanessa admitted. "I am very ashamed of it now, but yes. So why have you come here?" Vanessa took out a folder from her purse. "Because I have realized that I was involved in something awful, and I have to do what I can to fix it." She passed the folder over to Natalie. It contained financial documents, bank statements, several emails, and a life insurance policy. A chill ran through Natalie as she read the documents. Policyholder Blake Warren. Person insured Natalie Warren. Benefit $500,000. Beneficiary Blake Warren. He was planning to kill me no matter what. Natalie whispered in disbelief. That is what this means. The acid was just the method he decided to use. If you had died from his attack, he would have collected $500,000. Vanessa's voice was trembling, and I was the one who gave him the name of a chemical supply company. He told me he needed strong cleaners for his office. You had no way of knowing. That does not make me feel any less guilty. Natalie studied the woman in front of her. This was the other victim her husband had tricked and used, and against all odds she felt an odd sense of connection to her. He manipulated both of us, Natalie stated. Yes, he did. You thought you were in love with him. I believed many foolish things. Will you testify against him in court, if that is what you want? The prosecutor told me that my testimony about our affair and these financial papers will help him prove his motive and show that he planned this. Natalie thought for a moment. Then she looked at Vanessa and said, testify. Let the world see the real Blake Warren. Once Vanessa had gone, Rebecca came into the room, carrying coffee and wearing a determined expression. So, you spoke with her? Rebecca asked.
Yes, I did. And what happened?
Blake lied to all of us. He kept me isolated from everyone. He tricked her. And he was planning my murder to get the insurance money. A bitter laugh escaped Natalie. So I was more valuable to him dead than alive. Do not say that. But it is true. $500,000. That was my price tag to him. What he thinks you are worth does not matter. Your real value is what you say it is. Natalie's hand went to her bandaged face. But what if I cannot decide? What if I see my reflection and still have no idea who I am? Then I will be here to remind you every single day that you are Natalie. You are a teacher. You will be a wonderful mother. You are my best friend. And you are a survivor. And it also seems you are Caroline Sinclair. I do not know how to be all of those people at once. You just to take it one day at a time, one breath at a time. The baby kicked again. Natalie counted from 1 to 20. She is certainly active today, Rebecca remarked. She is always moving around. I feel like she can sense all the chaos on the outside. Have you considered any names for her? Not really. I cannot focus on that until I am sure that we will both be safe. You are going to be safe, Rebecca said firmly. How can you be so sure of that? Rebecca took Natalie's hand in hers. Because I have known you for 10. And in all that time, I have never seen you give up. Not on college, not on your teaching job, and not on your students. You are not going to start giving up now. Natalie wished she could believe her friend, but having faith seemed to require too much energy. That evening, when she was alone once more, Natalie's thoughts drifted to Caroline, the small girl who wore a yellow sundress, the girl who was cherished and then vanished. She was once that little girl. She simply had no memory of it. How would her life be different if Emma had never become ill? Or if Dr. Sinclair had been able to find her? What if she had been raised by a father who adored her? It would have been different. Totally different. Would it have been better? Perhaps or perhaps not. She would never find out. The only thing she had was the present, this very moment, with this damaged body and this tangled future. She rested both of her hands on her stomach. Your name will be Caroline, she told her unborn daughter. It will be Caroline Hope. Caroline for the little girl I once was. And hope, because that is exactly what we both need. As if in reply, the baby kicked 7 times. Natalie counted every single kick and took it as a sign of agreement. The next day, the first surgery would take place. Dr. Sinclair would begin to repair her face, and perhaps as he fixed her on the outside, Natalie could learn how to heal herself on the inside. He would do it one surgery at a time, one day at a time, and one kick at a time. Her next operation was set for the early morning. Natalie was awake at 5, her mind too restless for sleep, so she counted her baby's kicks, almost like it was a form of meditation. She counted 37 kicks before the nurse entered her room. Every kick was a sign that life went on, even when her world was in pieces. Dr. Sinclair came in at 6 o'clock like he wore his surgical clothing and had an expression that was both professional doctor and caring father. How are you feeling this morning? He asked. I am terrified. That is an honest answer. That is good. What happens if this does not work? It is going to work. I have performed this exact surgery hundreds of times, but not on your own daughter. He paused. No, not on my daughter. Would you prefer that I step aside? I can ask Dr. Mitchell to perform the surgery instead. Natalie thought about it for a second, then she shook her head. No, I want you to do it. May I ask why? Because you are the best surgeon and because I have to begin trusting someone. A new expression crossed Dr. Sinclair's face. It was a look of gratitude and pure relief. I promise I will not fail you, he said with conviction. The operation lasted for 6 hours. The surgeons used skin taken from Natalie's thigh to rebuild her cheeks. They reconstructed her nose with cartilage grafts and worked to bring back the symmetry of her forehead and chin. Natalie was completely unconscious from the medicine, but in that deep sleep, she dreamed. She dreamt of a woman's song, the smell of lavender, and a teddy bear with one eye missing. When she awoke in recovery, Dr. Sinclair was right beside her bed. He asked how she felt. Like a truck hit me, she answered. That is a good description. How did the surgery go? It went very. The grafts were a success, he added. More procedures are needed, but this was a huge step. Natalie tried to touch her face, but he caught her hand. Not yet. You need to give it a few days to heal. But I cannot see it. Not until we take off the bandages. It was a direct order. Natalie laughed through the pain. You are enjoying this, are you not? Perhaps a little. Rebecca showed up an hour later with flowers and the latest news from Natalie's school. Her fellow teachers had been asking about her. The principal even sent a nice care package. Her students had made cards wishing her well. One specific card brought tears to Natalie's eyes. It was from Sophia Martinez, a quiet third-grade student who had trouble reading. Dear Miss Morgan, I miss you. Mr. Henderson is nice, but he does not explain things the way you do. I hope you come back soon. Love, Sophia. Underneath her words was a drawing of a lady with a huge smile and little hearts all around her head. She drew you, Rebecca said softly. She drew the person I was. She drew her teacher. That part has not changed. Far away in Pennsylvania, Blake Warren was being brought back to be charged for his crimes. Detective Sullivan called her with news. We have him now. His arraignment is tomorrow. The district attorney is charging him with attempted murder, assault with a weapon, and many counts of fraud and identity theft. What kind of sentence will he get if they convict him? Natalie asked. Attempted murder alone is 25 years to life. With everything else, he will get 40 years at a minimum. Good. There was more bad news. Blake's attorney was already pushing for a plea bargain. Natalie squeezed the phone tighter. What kind of bargain? He would admit aggravated assault to get a reduced sentence. 10 to 15 years, not 40, she said. No, absolutely not. I knew you would say that. But Natalie, a trial means you will have to testify. You will have to relive it all. You will face him in court. I do not care. He tried to kill me and my unborn child. He ruined my face. He took everything. 10 years is not justice. Detective Sullivan paused for a moment. Then he agreed. Okay, we will get ready for the trial. After she hung up, Natalie's hands trembled. Seeing Blake again made her feel sick, but him getting away with it was even worse. She would testify. She would face him. She would ensure he stayed in prison for the rest of his life. The very next day, Dr. Sinclair came with dinner from a real restaurant. It was not hospital food, but homemade pasta he had made himself. You know how to cook? Natalie asked, looking surprised. I learned after Emma passed away. I needed something to do with my hands. They ate together in a comfortable quiet. The pasta was delicious. The company was even nicer. After a bit, Dr. Sinclair asked, May I tell you a story? Of course. When you were 2, you went through a time when you would only wear your red rain boots. You wore them even when it was sunny and even with your dresses. Emma would argue, but you would throw tiny tantrums until she let you. They were bright red rain boots with little frogs on them. You adored those boots more than anything else. He smiled, lost in the memory. I have pictures of it somewhere. You at the beach in rain boots, at the park, even at your 2nd birthday party. Red boots are in every photo. Natalie tried to picture it, but she could not. I do not remember. I did not think you would, but I do. And I want you to know the person you were. Who was I? You were strong-willed, stubborn, and so happy. You laughed at everything. You would make up your own songs. You collected rocks and swore they were treasure. His voice became softer. You were loved, Caroline. Even if you cannot remember it, you were so very loved. Natalie felt her throat get tight. Please do not call me Caroline. That is not my name. I know that. I am sorry. It is an old habit. My name is Natalie. I know. They ate the rest of their meal in silence. Before he left, Dr. Sinclair looked back at her. I saved everything, he said. Your toys, all your clothes, your books, and yes, even those red rain boots. If you ever want to see them, why would I want to see any of that? Because all of it is yours. It has always been yours, and when you feel ready, it will all be waiting for you. After he was gone, Natalie lay in the darkness. She thought about red rain boots and the little girl who adored them. That girl seemed like a total stranger, but perhaps, with enough time, Natalie could get to know her. 2 weeks after that, the bandages were removed. Natalie wanted to be by herself for the big reveal. It would be just her and a mirror. Dr. Sinclair had argued against it, but he finally gave in. This was a moment she had to face alone. The nurse took off the bandages one by one, very slowly. Natalie kept her eyes shut tight until they were all gone. Are you ready? The nurse asked. No, but let us do it. The nurse gave her the mirror. Natalie took a deep breath and opened her eyes. The face that stared back was not the same. The scars were definitely there, but they seemed calmer now, more a part of her. Her cheekbones had a defined shape again. Her nose looked like it belonged on her face. Her forehead was smooth once more. She looked like someone who had been through a terrible ordeal, but she also looked like someone who had come out the other side. Hello there, she whispered to the face in the mirror. I am Natalie. It is nice to meet you. It was not love at first sight, but it was a feeling of acceptance, and for right now, that was good enough. When Dr. Sinclair came to check on her, he saw her still looking at her reflection. What are your thoughts? He asked very gently. I think that I look different now. Do you hate what you see? No, I do not hate it. She turned to look at him. I do not love it yet either, but this is a face I can live with. That is a wonderful start. Yes, I think it is. That night, Natalie had a special dream. She was 3 years old, in red rain boots, splashing in puddles. A woman was watching her and laughing. The woman had very kind eyes and a faint smell of lavender. Higher, Mama, dream, Natalie yelled out. Be careful now, Caroline, the woman said. Natalie woke up with tears streaming down her face. It was the first memory that ever felt real. The first small piece of the person she once was. Caroline Sinclair had been truly loved, even if Natalie Morgan had no memory of it. And maybe that was what mattered. The official DNA results came back in a report, with cold, scientific language and numbers that could not be denied. A 99.99% chance of paternity. Dr. James Sinclair was, in fact, Natalie's biological father. Her real name was Caroline Marie Sinclair, and she had been missing since June 15, 1999. A press conference was called. Dr. Sinclair dealt with the reporters like a seasoned professional. Yes, his daughter had been found after 26 long years. No, he would not be discussing her current medical state. Yes, it was an absolute miracle. No, there would not be any more comments. Natalie watched it all from her hospital bed. She saw her father manage the reporter with so much grace, and she saw him protecting her even from so far away. He is very good at this, Rebecca said from her chair. He has had a lot of practice. He is a surgeon. Surgeons are masters of controlling difficult situations. Are you okay with all of this attention?
I do not feel like I have a choice. You always have a choice.
Natalie placed a hand on her stomach.
She was 8 months pregnant now. Baby Caroline Hope was quickly running out of space inside her.
The kicks were not as often, but they were much stronger. What if I am not able to do this? Natalie asked in a low voice. Do what? Be a mother, have a father. Testify against Blake? All of it, she said. Rebecca turned to look right at her. Nat, you survived an acid attack while you were pregnant. You found out your whole life was not what you thought it was. You have rebuilt your face. If you can handle all of that, you can do absolutely anything. That is different. I did not choose any of those things. They were just things that happened to me. And you are choosing your response. That is the most difficult part. And you are doing it beautifully. 3 days later, Doc Sinclair asked Natalie to come to his home. She did not want to go, but she was also curious. Rebecca drove her there and stayed with her for support. Dr. Sinclair lived in a lovely colonial-style house in a peaceful neighborhood. The inside was tidy, but looked like someone lived there. Medical books were on the coffee table, photos were on the walls, and one door was shut. That was your room, he said, seeing her glance at the door. I have kept it just the way it was. Can I go in? Are you sure you want to? Natalie nodded her head. He slowly opened the door. The room was like a picture from the past. There was a toddler bed with a pink blanket, toys on all the shelves, books in neat stacks, and on the dresser a pair of bright red rain boots with little frogs on them. Natalie walked inside very slowly. She touched the small bed, the toys, and the boots. "I lived in this room," she said, "for 3 years. This was everything to you." Natalie reached for the red boots. They were incredibly small, a size 6 for a toddler. She tried to imagine her feet ever being that little.
I do not remember, she said. I feel like I should remember this, but I do not. You were only 3 years old when you were taken. Most people have no clear memories from that age. But you do.
You remember it all. I am your father. I have held on to every single memory as if it were a lifeline. Natalie put the boots down and then picked up a stuffed teddy bear. It was missing one of its eyes. "This was in my dream," she said all of a sudden. "This bear, I had a dream about it. That is Mr. Buttons. You gave him that name. You carried him with you everywhere." Natalie held the bear tightly, a 30-year-old woman holding a childhood toy like it was the most precious object in the world. "Can I please keep this?" she asked. "Caroline, Natalie, everything inside this room belongs to you. It always has." Natalie brought Mr. Buttons with her back to the hospital. That night, she slept with him on the pillow next to her, and she daydreamed about this lavender again. The next morning, she woke up and saw Dr. Sinclair was in her room. "I have to tell you something," he said, "and I do not think you will like it." Natalie sat up in her bed. "What is wrong?" "Blake's lawyer just filed a motion. He wants to put the trial on hold because of all the news about us. He is claiming his client will not get a fair trial with all the media attention. That is not fair." "No, that is not true. The prosecutor is arguing against it, but justice may be delayed." Natalie felt a surge of anger. "So he just waits in a cell while I face this mess. He is not comfortable. Believe me, county jail is a harsh place." "Good. I want him to suffer." Dr. Sinclair took a seat.
May I ask a personal question?
"Sure. What are your plans for after the trial ends and after the baby arrives? What will you do?" "I am not sure. The bank took the house. I will be in a shelter for abuse survivors when I leave here." "I have another suggestion." Natalie looked at him. "Come home," he offered. "Both you and the baby. Move into my house. I have 3 spare rooms. I can watch the baby while you heal. You will not be by yourself. I cannot simply live with you. And why not? Because we are practically strangers. Then let us get acquainted. We have 26 years to make up for. Please let me do this for you." Natalie wanted to say no. Her independence mattered. She was used to relying on herself, but she felt so weary, and the thought of having support was appealing. "May I have some time to consider it?" she asked. "Absolutely. Do not rush your decision." That afternoon, the phone rang. It was Vanessa Cole. "Natalie, this is Vanessa. I wanted to tell you I spoke to the prosecutor. I will be a witness in the trial." "Thank you. I also need to apologize for my part in this. I know it fixes nothing, but I swear I would not have been involved if I had known what he was really like." Natalie chose her response with care. "He deceived us both. He is a skillful liar." "Yes, he is. And I believed everything he said." Vanessa hesitated. "How are you holding up? Honestly, I am getting by. Some days, that is the best I can do. I am seeing a counselor now, trying to understand my part. My therapist says he manipulated me, but I still made decisions. We both made decisions. His were far worse. I appreciate you saying that." After they hung up, Natalie was left with a swirl of emotions. She felt anger that Vanessa was with Blake. She felt pity that Vanessa was also used, and she felt thankful for the testimony. Feelings are rarely simple. That evening, Natalie made up her mind. She telephoned Dr. Sinclair. "I will accept your offer," she told him. "After the baby comes, if it is still available." "Of course it is. But we need to agree on some rules." "Tell me what they are." "You cannot make my choices for me. I am not a child. I am a grown woman." "Understood. And I will pay for my room when I am able. I will not accept charity." "Natalie, that is not necessary. I have to do this. I need to pay my own way." "Very well. We will determine a reasonable. Also, you will not call me Caroline. My name is Natalie." "I understand." "All right. Then I will come home." The word felt unfamiliar. Home. She had never known a real one. Only a string of foster placements and then the unsafe apartment with Blake. Perhaps Dr. Sinclair's house could become a home. A week later, her labor began. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. She awoke to the pains and understood instantly. "Rebecca," she said aloud. Rebecca was asleep in a chair next to the bed staying with her. Rebecca, it is happening. Rebecca sat up with a start. Happening? Are you certain? I am quite certain. The nurses were summoned. Dr. Hayes came in. Dr. Sinclair suddenly showed up, dressed in his surgical clothes from a long operation. I came, he said. Would you like me to stay? Natalie reached for his hand. Yes, please stay. The delivery was quick, only 4 hours from start to finish. Baby Caroline Hope was clearly as determined as her mother. The pain was sharp, but Natalie hardly felt it. Her only thought was of seeing her little girl. The child she had shielded through the attack, operations, and all the pain. This was the baby whose kicks had sustained her through the darkest times. Just one final push, Dr. Hayes encouraged. Natalie gave it all her strength, and a wail suddenly echoed in the room. It was loud and angry and completely wonderful. You have a daughter, Dr. Hayes declared. They laid the infant on Natalie's chest. She was so small and pink and loudly protesting her arrival.
Hello there, Caroline Hope, Natalie said softly. I am your mother, and I will always keep you safe.
The baby grew silent at the sound. Her eyes fluttered open, and she stared at Natalie with a hazy infant look. Tears began to fall from Natalie's eyes. She is flawless. Oh, she is absolutely flawless. Dr. Sinclair was beside them, his own face wet with tears. May I? He asked, slowly extending his hand. Natalie gave a nod. He gently held his granddaughter's small hand.
Hello, Caroline Hope. I am your grandpa, and I promise to make up for all the years I missed with your mom.
Rebecca was also weeping. The nurse was weeping. Even Dr. Hayes seemed moved. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, the nurse said, 20 inches long and perfectly healthy. Natalie just kept looking at her daughter, this little person she had made, this marvel. I did it, she murmured. We made it, little one. We got through it. 3 days passed, and Natalie and Caroline Hope left the hospital. Dr. Sinclair took them to his house, which was now their home. He had turned his office into a baby-s room, with a crib, a mobile, a changing area, and a rocker near the window. Natalie paused at the entrance with her daughter in her arms, gazing at the room her father prepared. You set this all up, she asked her. I had some assistance. Rebecca chose the mobile. A social worker suggested the chair, but I assembled it myself. Why would you do that? He gave her a look as if the reason was simple. Because you are my child and she is my grandchild. And I have waited 26 years for family to be here again. Natalie felt a warmth spread through her chest. It was not painful, but soft and new. Thank you, she murmured, for all of this. There is no need to thank me. Yes, there is. Later, Natalie was in the rocking chair, feeding her baby at 2 in the morning. The home was still. The night outside was black. But inside this little room, holding her infant with her father sleeping nearby, Natalie felt a feeling she had long forgotten. She felt safe. She gently touched her own scar or cheek, then counted her daughter's tiny breaths. Blake wanted to ruin her, but instead he showed her true self, a survivor, a mother, a daughter, a woman who could rise from the ashes. I love you, Caroline Hope, she whispered. We will be all right, I promise you. The baby made a soft noise and cuddled in, and for the first time in a long while, Natalie truly believed it. They would be all right. 2 months after her daughter was born, Natalie went back to the hospital for another operation. Dr. Sinclair had gathered his entire team of surgeons. This operation was meant to improve the previous surgery, smooth the scars, and bring back a more natural shape to her face. This is the most important one, he told her the evening before. After this, you might need 1 or 2 small adjustments, but the main work will be finished. Natalie nodded. She felt anxious, not because of the procedure, but about what would follow. What person would be looking back at her from the mirror? Rebecca came early to care for Caroline Hope. The infant was healthy and growing well. She had her mother's eyes and her grandfather's chin. She will break a lot of hearts, Rebecca commented, holding the little girl. She is going to be strong, Natalie replied. That is what matters most. The procedure lasted 9 hours. They used skin from her thigh once more. This was to even out her cheeks, define her jaw, and blend the old skin with the new. Dr. Sinclair operated with intense focus. Each stitch was flawless, each move exact. He was working on his own daughter. He would not settle for anything but his finest effort. When Natalie awoke in the recovery room, she first felt pain. Then she felt relief that it was done. How did it turn out? She asked, still sleepy. It was perfect, Dr. Sinclair replied. The skin grafts are excellent. Your face will recover beautifully. When can I look? In 2 weeks. We have to wait for the swelling to reduce and the grafts to settle. Natalie sighed.
2 more weeks wrapped in bandages, 2 more weeks of recovery.
While she was healing, her school called. Principal Martinez asked if she intended to come back to her teaching job.
I am not sure, Natalie confessed. I would like to, but I do not know if it is possible.
Is it because of your appearance? The principal asked kindly. It is because of all of it. My appearance, my child, the upcoming trial. I feel like I am falling apart. They ask for you all the time. This brought tears to Natalie's eyes. They really do? Yes, of course. You are an amazing teacher. And those children do not worry about scars. They only care that you have faith in them. I just need more time. Take as much as you require. Your job will be waiting for you.
A week later, Detective Sullivan called. The trial is scheduled for 3 months from today, January 15th.
Natalie's heart sank. That is very soon. The district attorney wants to proceed without delay. Blake's attorney is trying to postpone it. We want to prevent that. What is required of me? You must get ready to give your testimony. The prosecutor will help you prepare.
And Natalie, this will be difficult. Blake will be present. His lawyer will question you intensely. It will feel very personal. I do not care. I want him sent away. Good. That is the spirit.
When the call ended, Natalie held Caroline Hope close. The baby slept, her small hands balled up on Natalie's chest. Your father is a terrible person, Natalie whispered. But you will never have to meet him. I will make sure of it. An hour passed before Dr. Sinclair found her in the same spot. Do you want to discuss it? He asked. The trial date is in 3 months. I am aware. Detective Sullivan contacted me as well. I must testify, I know. I must face him one more time. I will be right there with you. You will not be by yourself. Natalie looked at her father. Why are you doing so much for me? Because that is my job as your father. This is how fathers act. But you were gone for 26 years. You do not owe me. I owe you the world. Model. 26 years of birthdays, school events, teaching you to drive, helping with homework, and walking you down the aisle. His voice trembled. I wasn't there for any of it. So, if I can be here now, I am going to be here. Tears streamed down Natalie's face. I am afraid of the trial, of it all, of letting Caroline down, of Blake getting free someday, of never being normal again. Dr. Sinclair sat down next to her. May I tell you what my father told me when I was in medical school? Okay. I was petrified of my first surgery. I was completely sure I would fail. My father said, James, courage is not the absence of fear. It is doing what is right. Even when you are petrified, you still go forward. That is courage. This does not feel like courage. It feels like I am just trying to survive. Sometimes they are the same. 2 weeks after the surgery, her bandages were removed. Natalie requested privacy once more, with only herself and the mirror. The nurse peeled the gauze away carefully. Natalie kept her eyes shut until it was over. Ready? The nurse asked softly. No, but please give me the mirror. She opened her eyes. The woman in the reflection was not the old Natalie, but she was not the monster from the hospital. She was a new person, some broken and then rebuilt. Her face had scars. They would always be there, but they were softer, a part of her new story, not the whole story. Her cheekbones had a defined shape. Her nose looked proportional to her face. Her eyes, which the acid had not touched, gazed back at her with a look that might one day become pride. Hello, she whispered to her own reflection. I am Natalie Morgan. No, wait. I am Caroline Sinclair. No, that is not correct either. She stopped, then spoke again. I am Natalie Sinclair, a daughter, a mother, a teacher, and a survivor. The name felt right. It was a blend of who she now was and who she had always been deep down. When Dr. Sinclair came to see her, he found her still looking in the mirror. What do you think? He asked her. I think I look different. Is that okay with you? It is more than okay. I look like someone who survived. She turned to look at him. I look like me. Dr. Sinclair's eyes filled with tears. You do. You look just like you. That evening, Natalie asked for a meeting with the prosecutor. District Attorney Jennifer Chen came with her files and a determined look. Mrs. Warren. Miss Sinclair, Natalie corrected. I am using my real name again. Natalie Sinclair. Miss Sinclair, let us go over the trial. Blake's defense lawyers will argue he was temporarily insane. They will say he broke under financial strain. That is nonsense. He bought the acid 3 weeks before. He researched prison time. That is premeditated. hesitation. I agree, and we will prove that to the jury. But his lawyer will try to make you seem controlling. They will say you drove him to it. Natalie felt her anger begin to boil. So, I am on trial as well? That is how the defense works. They attack the victim to make the attacker look better. I need you to be prepared. Tell me what I need to do. They practiced for hours, going through question after question. Natalie's answers grew smoother and more confident. She learned to remain calm when the prosecutor acted as the defense and attacked her. Remember, the district attorney said at the end, tell the truth, stick to the facts, do not let them see you cry. Jury's last response to strength. I can be strong. I know that you can. 1 month before the trial, Vanessa Cole asked for another meeting. She came to Dr. Sinclair's house nervously, holding her purse tightly. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me, she said. What do you want? Natalie asked. She was in the room feeding Caroline Hope. I wanted to let you know I will be testifying, but I also wanted to truly apologize, not just for the affair, but for believing his lies, for not wondering why a pregnant woman would be so awful. Why did you not wonder about it? Because I wanted to believe what he said. Because believing him meant I was not a bad person for being with him. Vanessa's voice was shaky. I am in therapy now. I am working on why I was so easily controlled. My therapist says I have patterns. We all have them. Mine nearly got you killed. Natalie looked at the woman. She was Blake's mistress. She was also Blake's other victim. You gave the prosecutor the life insurance policy details, Natalie said. That evidence might be what convicts him of planned attempted murder instead of just assault. I hope it does. Then we are even. We are not even. We will never be. But I appreciate that you said it. After Vanessa left, Rebecca said to Natalie, that was very generous. What was forgiving her? I did not forgive her. I just do not have any energy left to hate her. Blake is the one who deserves my hate. She is just another person he used. You have changed. I had to. The night before the trial started, Natalie could not fall asleep. She sat in the rocking chair in Caroline Hope's room, holding her sleeping baby, counting each breath. Dr. Sinclair found her at 3 in the morning. Can't you sleep? He asked her. I am too nervous. Would you like some tea? They both went downstairs. He made chamomile tea with honey, the way Emma always did. I am scared, Natalie confessed. Not of Blake, but of breaking down in court, of giving him the pleasure of seeing me cry. Then do not cry there. Cry here, cry now, let it all out. And so she did. She wept for the woman she was before, for the face that she had lost, for the innocence that was destroyed when Blake threw that acid. She cried for Caroline Sinclair, the little girl who was lost. She cried for Natalie Morgan, the foster kid who believed she had finally found a real family. She cried until she had no more tears. She set her shoulders back and said, okay, I am ready. Ready for what? To face him, to tell my truth, to make certain he never hurts anyone else. Dr. Sinclair held up his mug. To courage. To survival, Natalie corrected him. They touched their mugs together. Tomorrow the trial would start. Tomorrow she would see her attacker. Tomorrow she would tell the world what Blake Warren had done. But tonight she was safe at home with her child, her father, and people who loved her. And that was enough. The courthouse was full of media and the public. Natalie walked in with her head held high, with Dr. Sinclair and Rebecca on either side. She wore a simple navy dress that Rebecca had helped her choose. It was professional, dignified, and strong. She made the choice not to wear makeup to cover her scars. Let the jury see what Blake had done. When Blake was led into the courtroom, in his orange jumpsuit, Natalie made herself look at him. He seemed smaller than she remembered and much thinner. His hair was longer and unkempt, but his eyes were the same, cold and calculating. He looked over at her and smiled a little, like they shared a secret joke. Natalie stared back with no expression. She would not give him the satisfaction of her fear. The opening statement from the prosecution was powerful. The district attorney laid out the evidence piece by piece. The acid he purchased, the insurance policy, the affair, the financial crimes, and the premeditation. This was not a crime of passion, she said to the jury. This was an attempted execution. Blake Warren planned to kill his pregnant wife for money. When she survived, he ran. That is not the action of a man who snapped. That is the action of a calculated predator. Blake's lawyer, a smooth defense attorney named Robert Morrison, told a different story. Blake Warren is a man who made mistakes, terrible mistakes. But he is not a monster. He was drowning in debt. His marriage was falling apart. He felt trapped. In a desperate moment, he did a terrible thing. But temporary insanity is real, and that is what this case is about. Natalie wanted to scream temporary insanity, as if throwing acid on your pregnant wife was just having a bad day. The first witness was Mrs. Davidson, the neighbor who had called 911. "I heard screaming," she testified. "Awful screaming. I ran outside and saw Natalie on her porch. Her face was—" Mrs. Davidson's voice broke. "I am a retired nurse. I have seen a lot of things, but that was the worst thing I have ever witnessed." Next were the paramedics who had responded, and then the emergency room doctors, each one describing the severity of Natalie's injuries in clinical detail. The jury looked absolutely horrified. On day 2, Detective Sullivan testified about the investigation. He presented the laptop evidence, the gambling websites, the texts with Vanessa, and the search for acid attacks and prison sentences. "This was purchased 3 weeks before the attack," he said, holding up receipts. "It was industrial-grade sulfuric acid, bought with a fake name and hidden in the garage." Blake's lawyer tried to argue the purchase did not prove intent. Detective Sullivan calmly replied, "Then what was it for? What possible legitimate reason would a financial consultant have for buying acid that can dissolve human tissue?" There was no answer. On day 3, Vanessa Cole took the stand. She was nervous but composed. She described the affair, the lies Blake told about Natalie, and the financial records she unknowingly helped him alter. "He told me she was not stable," Vanessa said. "He said she threatened to kill herself if he left. He showed me texts that were supposedly from her. They were vicious and controlling." "Were those texts real?" the district attorney asked. "No. I later learned he had faked them. He used a text spoofing application. He wanted me to hate her, so I would not question his stories." Blake's lawyer cross-examined her aggressively.
Miss Cole, you had an affair with a married man.
"Is it not possible you are lying now to rid yourself of guilt?" "I was having an affair. That is true. I am guilty of that. But I did not try to kill anyone. Blake did." "You benefited from Blake's insurance plan. He told you about it, didn't he?" "Yes. He promised after the divorce he would have money to build a new life with me. I had no idea that money depended on Natalie not being alive." "Is that what you claim?" "I am not claiming it. I am swearing that it is the truth." Then it was Rebecca's turn. She spoke of the years she saw Blake cut Natalie off from others, manage all her money, and twist reality about his gambling. But Natalie always defended him. Rebecca stated, "Anytime I voiced my worries, she would make an excuse. He is under stress. He is exhausted. He is worried about their finances." She did not see what I saw, how he was tearing her down piece by piece. "So why did she not just leave?" Morrison asked during his questioning. "Because abuse is a quiet poison. It does not begin with acid. It begins with little things, small criticisms, and gentle isolation. By the time it gets worse, the person being hurt starts to believe they are the problem." "So you are suggesting Mrs. Warren was a weak person?" "No. I am suggesting she was a human being, and human beings want to trust that the people they love will not harm them." On the 5th day, it was Natalie's time to speak. She had been waiting for this, fearing this, and getting ready for this. The prosecutor called her to the witness stand. Natalie moved slowly, feeling every person in the room watch her. She put her hand on the Bible and promised to tell the whole truth. She sat down and made eye contact with the jury, but not with Blake. She would never look at Blake. "Miss Sinclair," the prosecutor started, "could you please tell the jury what happened on August 15th of last year, the night of the attack?" Natalie drew a deep breath. "I got home from parent-teacher meetings at about 8:30. I was 6 months pregnant, worn out, and just wanted to relax." "What happened when you walked into your house?" "Blake was there in the kitchen. All the lights were out. I could just make out his shape in the dark. He was holding a bottle." "Could you tell what was inside the bottle?" "No, not at all. I figured it was water or maybe some kind of liquor." I asked him if anything was wrong. What was his reply? "He told me I had ruined his life, that I could not let things be, that I always had to ask so many questions." Natalie's voice was firm and clear. Then he flung the liquid from the bottle right at my face. And what was the next thing that happened? Pain. It was instant, and it was terrible. It felt like my skin was burning off. I collapsed onto my knees. I could not get any air. I could not even think. The only thing I knew was that I was going to die. But you did not die. No. I managed to crawl to the front door. I had to find help. Had to protect my baby. Your baby. I was pregnant. I am a mother. And mothers never give up. The prosecutor then the jury pictures of Natalie's injuries from that evening. A wave of shock went through the courtroom. A few jurors put their hands over their mouths. Ms. Sinclair, those pictures are very hard to see. How did you manage to survive? My neighbor called 911. The paramedics were amazing. The doctors saved me and I simply would not die. And why would you not die? Natalie's hand went to her stomach without thinking. Because my little girl needed me, and she still needs me. The prosecutor gave a small nod. Let us discuss your relationship with Blake before this happened. Were there any red flags? Looking at it now, yes. He started acting strange about 8 months earlier. He got very defensive if I asked about money, and angry if I questioned his late nights at the office. Did you ever learn why he was being so secretive? He was gambling, having an affair, and stealing from our shared bank accounts. When did you learn about all of this? Just 2 days before he attacked me, I saw charges on our credit card from gambling sites. When I confronted him, he dismissed it as nothing. He said I was making a big deal out of it. But it was not nothing. No, he had lost $60,000, taken out a second mortgage on our home behind my back, drained our savings account, and maxed out credit cards that were in my name. How did that discovery make you feel? I felt betrayed and very scared, but I believed we could fix it. I thought a marriage was about working through true challenges together. Natalie paused for a moment. I was mistaken. Blake did not want to work through challenges. He wanted to get rid of them. And when you say get rid of, what do you mean? He attempted to murder me. The courtroom was completely still. Then Morrison got up to question her. Miss Sinclair, you have admitted that you confronted my client about his financial problems. You were quite angry, correct? I was upset. Yes, he had stolen all of our money. So you started a fight with him. We had a discussion, a very intense one. I was worried about our future. That is a normal reaction. Is it not a fact that you told him you would leave him? Yes. That was after I learned about the other woman. So you threatened the very life he had built, his house, his baby, his entire future. Natalie felt her anger build, but she kept her voice calm. I threatened to end a marriage that was based on nothing but lies. That is very different from throwing acid in someone's face. But you pressured him. You backed him into a corner. You made him believe he was trapped. Nothing I ever did forced him to try and kill me. That was a choice he made. My client says he has no memory of the attack. He claims he blacked out from all the stress. Then why did he buy the acid 3 weeks before? Why did he look up prison sentences online? Why did he run away afterward? Those are not the actions of a person who simply blacked out. Morrison tried a different approach.
Miss Sinclair, you are currently suing my client for money, are you not? Yes, for my medical bills and for my pain and suffering, so you stand to gain financially if he is found guilty.
I have a personal reason to want him in jail, so he cannot do this to another person. You also learned not long ago that you are the daughter of Dr. James Sinclair, who is a very rich plastic surgeon. Is it not quite a coincidence that your surgeon was also your long-lost father? The prosecutor objected.
Relevance. The judge agreed. Morrison changed the subject. Mrs. Sinclair, your medical files show that you had depression while you were pregnant. You were given medicine for it. It's mild prenatal depression.
It is very normal. Is it not possible that you were not thinking clearly? That my client was worried about your state of mind? I was never unstable. And even if I had been, it would not be a reason for attempted murder. But it could explain why my client felt he was in danger. Natalie had heard enough. She leaned forward and looked straight at Blake for the very first time. I was 6 months pregnant. I weighed 140 pounds. Blake is 6'2" and weighs 200 pounds. If he was scared of me asking about our money, he had options. He could have just left. He could have gone to therapy. He could have done anything else but try to burn my face from my head. The jury was completely focused on her. Morrison had no more questions. As Natalie left the stand, her water broke. She felt a sudden rush and looked down, completely stunned. "It is my baby," she said. The room exploded into activity. Dr. Sinclair hurried to her side. The judge declared a recess. The paramedics were called. And what about Blake? Blake seemed irritated that his trial would be delayed, that single expression would stay with the jury. Natalie delivered Caroline Hope at the hospital while the court took a break for 3 days. When the trial started again, the defense rested its case without having Blake testify. Morrison understood that his own client would ruin any chance they had. The final arguments from both lawyers were powerful. The prosecutor reminded the jury of all the facts, the planning, the insurance money, and how he ran away. This was attempted murder. Do not let his lawyer's tricks and distractions hide the real story. Morrison claimed it was temporary insanity. A decent man who made one horrible mistake during a moment of extreme mental stress. Punish him, of course, but do not label him a monster. The jury took 6 hours to decide. When they came back, the lead juror stood up. On the count of attempted murder. What is your verdict? Guilty. Natalie felt her body go limp. Rebecca grabbed her arm to steady her. On the count of assault with a deadly weapon. Guilty. On the counts of fraud and identity theft. Guilty on every single charge. Blake did not show any feeling at all. He just looked forward. His sentencing was scheduled for 2 weeks from then. On that day, Blake was sentenced to 40 years to life. He would not be eligible for parole for 35 years. He would be 72 years old before he could even ask to be released. The judge's last words were sharp. Mr. Warren, you are not a victim here. You are a predator who carefully planned to kill your pregnant wife for money. You will now have the rest of your useful years in a prison cell to think about the moment you chose brutality over basic decency.
Gavel, it was finally done.
Natalie left the courthouse holding her head high. Dr. Sinclair was carrying the baby, Caroline Hope. Rebecca was holding Natalie's hand. Outside, a crowd of reporters yelled out questions. Natalie paused and turned to the cameras. I have something to say, she said clearly. The noise from the crowd faded. For anyone who is watching this and is in a harmful relationship, I need you to listen. Abuse does not begin with acid. It begins with small acts, being isolated, being controlled, being made to question your reality. If a person makes you feel worthless, if a person makes you doubt your own mind, if a person makes you scared, that is abuse. And you are worth more than that. You have a right to be safe. You have a right to be loved. Please talk to your friends, your family, or call the domestic violence hotlines. You are strong enough to get through this. I am living proof. Then she turned around and walked away from the crowd. Blake Warren was gone, put away for many years, and Natalie Sinclair was finally free. 6 months after the trial ended, Natalie was in her 3rd grade classroom for the first time in more than a year. Principal Martinez had suggested she ease back into work, with part-time hours, a teaching partner, and extra help, but Natalie was determined to do it her own way. The children were all new faces. The new students had never met her. They were unaware of her past. She was simply Miss Sinclair, a teacher with a scarred face. She greeted them, "Good morning, class." 22 3rd grade students looked back, their expressions mixed with wonder and childhood frankness. A boy named Marcus quickly raised his hand. "You have a question, Marcus?" "Miss Sinclair, why does your face look like that?" The room fell quiet. While the teacher's aide grew stiff, Natalie offered a kind smile. "That is a very good question, Marcus. A person hurt me a long time ago, but I got better. I want all of you to know that even if people hurt us, we can get better. We are much stronger than we realize." Marcus thought about her words. He spoke up again. "My father told me scars make you a warrior. Your father is very wise." A new hand appeared. It belonged to a girl named Sophie. "Will you be our teacher for the whole year?" "Yes, I will." "Great." Mr. Henderson was so dull. The children erupted in laughter, and the tension disappeared. Natalie taught them reading, math, and science for the rest of the day. She felt wonderful to have a reason to be here, not just to survive. When school ended, a mother came to her looking anxious. "Miss Sinclair, I am Marcus's mother. I hope he was not impolite." "He was not impolite at all. He was truthful, and I am grateful for that. Even so, I will speak with him about what to ask." "Please do not. I prefer children ask me things openly instead of gossiping. Being honest is a form of kindness." The woman's face relaxed into a grateful smile. "Thank you. It is good to have you back." That evening, Natalie arrived home tired but content. She found Dr. Sinclair holding Caroline Hope and singing a soft tune. It was the same lullaby Emma sang to Caroline Sinclair 29 years before. he asked. So, how did your first day go? It was perfect and difficult and wonderful. That is quite a description. It was a very full day. She gently took her baby and settled on the sofa. At 7 months old, Carolyn Hope could sit by herself, make little noises, and grab at the air. Mama, the baby cooed, tapping Natalie's cheek with her soft hands. Yes, sweetie. With pure curiosity, the baby then traced the scars along Natalie's face. She was not scared or repulsed. She was just curious. She does not view the scars as something bad, Dr. Sinclair remarked. She has not been taught they are supposed to be. To her, it is just your face. That is how I wish everyone saw them. Not everyone will, but the ones who count do. Just then, Rebecca came in with dinner. It was Chinese food from Natalie's favorite place. We are celebrating your return to our work, she declared. The group sat on the carpet to eat. Carolyn Hope was in the middle, grabbing noodles and getting food everywhere. This is so wonderful, Natalie commented. It feels like we are a real family, Rebecca answered. We are a real family, the kind you choose, which is the very best. Sometime later, after Rebecca had gone and the baby was sleeping, Natalie and Dr. Sinclair were sitting outside. I received a phone call earlier, he began, from a group that helps domestic abuse victims. They would like you to be a speaker at their yearly event. Are you serious? You are an inspiration to many, a person who survived and created a new life. I am not sure I am prepared for that. Just consider it. There is no rush, but your story is very meaningful. Natalie thought about his words. What could I possibly talk about? Just share your story. Other survivors need to hear it. A month after that conversation, Natalie was on a stage looking at 200 women. Every one of them was a survivor of abuse, and each was putting her life back together. Her hand trembled as she walked to the microphone. She started by saying, I am Natalie Sinclair. 1 year ago, while I was 6 months pregnant, my husband poured acid on my face. His intention was to end my life for the insurance payout. Now he is behind bars and I am standing here. I am an educator, a mom, a child, and a survivor. She took a book of breath. I will not pretend that this was simple. It was very difficult. Some days, I felt like quitting. Some days, I avoided my own reflection. Some days, I believed the hurt would last forever. But I want to share what I discovered. Surviving is not an emotion, it is a decision. Each day, I made the choice to continue for my child, for my own sake, and for all the women of the past and the future. If you're waiting for a sign that things are bad, they are already that bad. He does not deserve another opportunity. You deserve a new beginning. For everyone who has escaped, who is starting over, who questions if they can ever be complete again, I promise you can. You might not be the person you were, but you will be improved, tougher, and more true to yourself than ever. The acid may have destroyed my appearance, but I reclaimed my existence. That is the greatest victory. The audience rose to their feet, and women were weeping and embracing one another, and Natalie. A woman came up to her later. Thank you so much, she whispered. I escaped my marriage 3 months ago. There are times I second-guess my choice. You helped me remember my reason. Natalie told her, you have great courage. So do you. Following the event, Natalie sensed a change inside her. Her pain now had meaning. She realized her suffering could be a source of help for other people. She began giving talks at safe houses, therapy circles, and in classrooms. Her theme was always consistent. You have more strength than you realize. A year following the assault, she and Dr. Sinclair went to see Emma's resting place. The marker was simple, located in a peaceful graveyard. Emma Sinclair, cherished wife and mother. Hello, Emma, Dr. Sinclair whispered from her. I have someone here for you to see. Or rather, to see again. This is our child Caroline. I was able to find her. Natalie was next to him, with little Caroline Hope in her arms. I regret that I cannot recall you. Natalie spoke softly. But I do recall the lavender scent and the music. I am grateful for those memories. They were quiet for some time. Then Natalie added, I gave my child the name of the girl you cherished, Caroline Hope. I did this because you loved me despite your illness, and I wish to respect that love. Leaving the cemetery, Dr. Sinclair gently held Natalie's hand. Your mother would have been so proud, he said. You think so? She asked. I am certain of it. She was a fighter too before her illness. You have her spirit, and I have yours, Natalie replied. That makes you unstoppable. That evening, putting Caroline Hope to sleep, Natalie sang a soft lullaby, the same one Emma sang, the one Dr. Sinclair also still sang. Everything had come full circle. Their family's 3 generations were linked by hardship, affection, and resolve. Natalie watched her daughter's peaceful sleep. She looked at the nursery her dad's made in, and then loved she knew life from nothing. "I did it," she whispered. "We made it, my girl. We lived through it, and now we are flourishing." She softly ran her fingers over her scars, without any of shame, but with acceptance. "You are a piece of my story now," she thought. "You are evidence that I made it. I am grateful that you show me a strength I never imagined." And in that moment, for the first time after that awful evening, Natalie felt truly lovely. It was not in spite of her marks, but because they stood for endurance, power, and new beginnings. She was Natalie Sinclair, an educator, a parent, a child, and a person who endured. She was precisely in the place she was meant to be. 2 years following the puzzle, Natalie was in her bathroom, preparing for a very big day. She gazed at her reflection, truly seeing herself. Her marks remained. They would never disappear, but they were lighter now, less defined. They were now just one feature of her face, not the entire narrative. In her face, she could see her mom's eyes, her dad's grin, and her own difficult journey to become strong. "Good morning, Natalie," she spoke to the mirror. "You are still present, still struggling, still lovely." Carolyn Hope walked unsteadily into the room, her small red boots making a squeaky noise on the floor. They were the red boots with little frogs on them. Dr. Sinclair had discovered a matching set on the internet. Caroline adored those boots just as much as the young Caroline Sinclair did 27 years earlier. "Mama, look, Mama boots," Caroline said with excitement, raising a foot for her to see. "I see them, sweetie. They are wonderful." Natalie completed her morning routine and went down the stairs. It was the official opening day for the Caroline Hope Center, a place for domestic abuse survivors that Natalie had helped create. Money from her insurance settlement with Blake's company and from generous gifts,
The facility offered immediate shelter, help with the law, therapy,
for those who had survived. Dr. Sinclair was making breakfast in the kitchen. He stopped performing surgery 6 months before to concentrate on his role as a grandparent and to help with Natalie's mission. "It is a big day," he commented, giving her a cup of coffee. "A very big day. I am anxious, scared to excellent. It shows that you care." Rebecca came over to assist with Caroline Hope. She was going to look after the little one at the event. "I am so proud of you," Rebecca said while embracing Natalie. "You are starting a center for abuse survivors, talking to lawmakers, and making a real difference." "Did you ever imagine this?" "Never," Natalie confessed. 2 years back, I believed my story had ended. It had not ended at all. It was a new chapter. The dedication event was very moving. 50 women were there, all of them survivors. Some knew Natalie from her talks. Others came from nearby safe houses, but they all needed to find hope. With trembling hands, Natalie snipped the ribbon. "This place is for any woman who was made to feel she had no value." She told the audience, "You are not worthless. You are priceless. You have a right to be safe, to have help, and to begin again. We welcome you to the Caroline Hope Center. A new life can begin today." There was clapping, crying, and embracing. A young woman came to Natalie after the ceremony. She looked to be about 23 and had a dark bruise on her eye and a small child with her. "I finally got out yesterday," she whispered. "I do not have a place to stay. Is there anything you can do for me?" "Of course," Natalie replied without hesitation. "Please follow me." She guided the woman through the initial forms herself. She arranged for a short-term place to live and put her in touch with a lawyer. "Why are you helping me like this?" the young mother wondered. "Because a kind person helped me when I was lost, and it is my turn to do the same for someone else." That evening, tired but with a full heart, Natalie came home. Dr. Sinclair was reading a story to Caroline Hope. "More, Grandpa, more," the little girl insisted, gesturing at the pages. "Just one more," he bargained, "and then it is time for sleep." As she observed them, Natalie was filled with immense insanity. She was thankful for the father who never gave up, the child who gave her a reason to live, and the new existence she had created from destruction. Once Caroline was sound asleep, Natalie and Dr. Sinclair enjoyed some wine on the porch. "I received a phone call earlier," he began. "It was from the state government. They are planning to name a law in your honor. A law for what? She asked. For tougher punishments on acid attacks with required prison time. They planned to call it Natalie's Law. Tears started to form in Natalie's eyes. Is that true? Your hard work had a real effect. The politicians have taken notice, but I do not want to be remembered for what was done to me. You will not be, he assured her. You are remembered for your actions after. That makes all the difference. 3 months later, Natalie watched as her law was signed at the state capitol. She knew Blake Warren would detest that his awful crime made the penalties tougher for others. Natalie thought, good. During that very same week, she saw Vanessa in a local coffee place. The meeting was uncomfortable. They had not talked at all since the trial concluded. Hello, Vanessa said with a shaky voice. Hi, congratulations on the new center. I saw it on television. Oh, thank you. A quiet moment passed between them. Then Vanessa shared, I am engaged to a wonderful man this time. I am happy that you found someone honest. You really mean that? Natalie paused and gave it some thought. Yes, Blake used us both. It takes strength to move on. I am still so sorry for my part in this. I know, and I have forgiven you. Not for you, but for me. I needed the peace, and with that, their paths diverged. They were not friends, but the enmity was gone. They were two women whose futures were altered by the same man. At Dr. Sinclair's house, they celebrated Carolyn Hope's 2nd birthday. The party was filled with 20 kids from the area, friends from daycare, and Natalie's students. Rebecca, Grace, and Detective Sullivan with his daughters were all there. It was a family of blood relatives and chosen friends. Caroline Hope sported a princess gown with her bright red rain boots. She huffed at the candles with a little help from her mom. Make a wish, sweetie, Natalie encouraged. Caroline's eyes squeezed shut with a wish only a 2-year-old could dream up. Probably for more cake, Natalie thought. As the party ended, she found herself alone with Dr. Sinclair. Thank you, she said to him. Whatever for, he asked. For not giving up on me, for looking for 26 years, for being the father I needed. He smiled warmly. Thank you for letting me be your father, for giving me this second chance. We both got a second chance, she said. A sleepy Carolyn Hope, covered in frosting, wandered in. Mama, she said, then turned. Papa, Papa. That was her name for Dr. Sinclair. Not Grandpa, but Papa. He lifted the tired little girl into his arms. Time for bed. Birthday girl. Later that night, Natalie watched her daughter sleep in the nursery. She reflected on how far she had come from that horrible night with Blake to this peaceful moment. It was only 2 years, but it felt like an entire lifetime. She was no longer the same woman. That person was gone forever, but she was better, stronger, and more herself than ever before. She gently touched her scars. Thank you, she whispered, for being a reminder that I am a survivor. She then stood and went to her own room, her home, her safe place. Tomorrow she would go teach her class. Next week, there was a conference where she would be a speaker. Next month, she was set to testify before a committee on preventing domestic violence. But tonight, she was just Natalie, a mother, a daughter, a survivor. And that was more than enough. The acid had scarred her face, but she had taken her life back. In the end, that was the greatest victory. Her revenge was not hate, but joy, love, and purpose. Blake Warren was wasting away in a prison cell, forgotten and alone. His name was now a symbol of evil. Natalie Sinclair was surrounded by love, making a positive impact. Her name was now a symbol of survival. She had won completely and finally. Her last thought before sleeping was simple. I am not what was done to me. I am what I chose to become. A survivor, a fighter, a mother, a daughter, an advocate, a warrior. Natalie Sinclair was alive, thriving, and free. Her story shows us we are all stronger than we realize. Survival is not just getting through the dark times. It is about building a life in the light that follows. If you were touched by this story, I would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment and tell me what part meant the most. Was it Natalie's incredible courage, the reunion with her father, or something else? Your feedback is important. And if you have a friend who needs to hear a message of hope, please share this with them. Sometimes one story is all a person needs to find their strength. Hit the like button if you believe in second chances, and subscribe so you don't miss another story of hope and human resilience. Remember, you are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by the person you choose to be after. I will see you in the next story.